You know, when I look at my own career of corporate, I've been bullied, fired, harassed. I actually fell off a stage in tears with very serious burnout. And it took me 3 months to get myself back together. Entrepreneurship is a roller coaster of highs and lows. So many women lack confidence. They're terrified to speak up. Why are we so afraid to do that? Women can be the most amazing, wonderful leaders. And I think corporate women need to understand that we can embrace femininity. Always, always be you and true to who you are. When you speak up, you stand up for who you are and what you believe in. You change your life.
Welcome to Sheconomy, the podcast dedicated to celebrating the rising influence of women in today's economy. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we have a very special guest, Emma Burdett, founder and CEO of Wild. Emma is a leading voice in women's empowerment and gender equality, dedicated to fostering leadership and inclusivity with women in business. Emma, nice to have you here.
Yeah, always. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful.
So Emma, you've built an incredible platform with Wild, which really empowers women. Can you take us back to the beginning?
Oh yeah, quite the story. So I've been in the region 11 years, and in 2016 I got headhunted into a really big director role. So I've had a very long stint in corporate before I actually created Wild. As part of a CSR initiative, the business said, how do you feel about starting a women's network? Now, in 2016, nobody spoke about female leadership, gender equality. People are starting to talk about it now. I'm not sure how much real action is being taken. We can probably delve into those stats throughout our discussion today. So I started a women's network with literally 4 women and a piece of paper. I had no idea what I was doing. I was really, really nervous. I grew the network to 15 women. And that was where I really saw the power of women coming together with a genuine sense of solidarity and support. We were all doing business amongst ourselves, we were sharing leads, and it really elevated my own credibility, and I was winning a lot of business for the company that I worked for.
Amazing.
Unfortunately, it was bittersweet. I ended up encountering significant workplace challenges and ended up losing my job, which then resulted in a mental breakdown at the start of 2018. Sorry, it's quite a long story, but as we're here, we'll go right into it. But I went off to Thailand for my very own version of Eat, Pray, Love, except there was lots of eating, lots of praying, and absolutely no loving. So I literally had a breakdown, and throughout that, I had a spiritual epiphany. So a healer in Luton gave me a distance healing and said, look for the butterfly, it speaks of change and joy. I thought, what a load of old rubbish. And one morning I got up and got a final note from a job offer. I'd been unemployed for 6 months, living on my own in Dubai, ploughing into money as you would here with no job. And I hit my knees and prayed for a miracle. I was so full of fear. I was so desperate. I was so scared. I walked outside and there were butterflies everywhere. And I thought, OMG,
No way.
Is this the change and the joy? And one blue one was just dancing around me and followed me all the way to the breakfast hall. And I just knew that things were going to change. So the butterfly is a huge part of Wild and what we do. And that isn't necessarily because it pertains to my journey, but because it represents transformation, femininity and strength. I wrote the concept for Wild from scratch. I believe I was divinely guided to do so. and I launched on the 19th of July, so nearly 6 years ago, 2018. I had over 100 women at our first event. I'd never done a keynote, and the rest is history.
Wow, well done you. And that makes sense now, the butterflies and wild, and what a story.
It is a story.
What a story. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced starting Wild, and how did you overcome them?
I think that we tend to glamorise entrepreneurship, and I've always been very transparent and authentic about the Wild journey. As you know, I'm a top voice on LinkedIn. I've been able to leverage and harness that platform. I've spoken about my breakdown, about my father having dementia, about having pancreatitis, about having burnout and falling off a stage. I've encountered many challenges along this journey, and I'm still encountering challenges. Entrepreneurship is a journey and a roller coaster of highs and lows. And let me tell you, the lows are low and the highs are high. So, I often find myself on the floor in tears because we've lost a project or a deal, and, we've probably failed more times than what we have won. When I look at overcoming challenges, I have worked with world-class coaches and mentors. I am a coach. I believe in the importance of coaching. I understand that we need to fill ourselves up. I spend over 2 hours a day on my habits and rituals, which is a combination of mantras and meditation, gratitude, nature, PT, anything that I know lights me up so that I feel good. Because when you're feeling good and you're operating at your optimum, the lows aren't as bad. So lots of challenges. But I believe that when we make feeling good our number one priority, the challenges are somewhat easier to deal with, coupled with surrounding yourself with the right people. That's taken time. That's still something I'm learning.
No, great. And I think I can also relate to a lot of those points, and especially the changing the mindset. Myself, I've very recently started meditating and bringing in a very, very strict morning routine. I tell you what, that really sets me up well mentally. And there's always lows in the days, it's not always a wonderful day, but as you say, you kind of get through it a little bit easier if you've got that mental psyche right in the morning, I find. So thank you.
And just to add to that, consistency compounds. So, every single day, if you make that commitment to self, you then have these moments of, oh my God, I feel amazing today. And you start attracting these opportunities, and the right people come, they want to work with you. And that's very much what we advocate through Wild, is stopping the pushing and the hustle and learn how to be in a flow state so that opportunities come to you. Amazing. That is a much better space, let me tell you.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you. So talking about Wild then, how has Wild evolved since inception, since the beginning?
So we started off just doing events once a quarter, and it was very much about building community. Having community is really important, especially when we are expats. Most of us are, away from home. We don't have family members or, friends. So building community is what we did first. 6 years on, we have a plethora of programs, from memberships to corporate training, to masterminds, to coaching. And in 2022, we launched in Saudi as the first and only female network to enter the kingdom.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah,
amazing.
That was quite a scary project.
So tell me a little bit more about Saudi and Wild then.
So throughout the journey of Wild, we had a lot of Saudi females contact us and say, when are you launching here? We really need a platform like this. and it was COVID, and that's obviously a podcast in itself. But we took the plunge, and in, as I said, 2022, we decided to go and do our first event. And I have to say, it was a frightening project. I remember standing in Riyadh Immigration, having never been to Saudi, thinking, I'm actually launching Wild Riyadh tomorrow. Our very first event was small. It was about 20 women. And then the PR completely exploded. Our event after that was 130 women.
Wow.
We hired a gaming centre, which obviously esports is a very male-dominated sector. And it was absolutely electric. It took me weeks to actually recover after this event. It was unbelievable. Then that wilder contract with the United Nations, which is, a little bit unbelievable. Wow. Yet here we are. So, I'm a SDG 5 Gender Equality Ambassador, won an MOU with the United Nations Global Compact Network, and we're really furthering our position in the kingdom. As I say, the first and only to enter is an amazing position to be in, but also that comes with resistance and challenges of its own, entirely different market. We have just won an award as well for Best Diversity and Social Value Business in Saudi. So it is a region which the trajectory of growth is exciting. We have a footprint there, and I'm really proud to be able to offer a platform for women's voices that hasn't been done before. So really proud of our position in Saudi.
Oh, amazing work. Amazing. So a 2023 report indicated that only 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Mm-hmm. What systemic changes do you believe are necessary to improve this statistic?
Yeah, I think it's really disappointing. And we've also seen a report that's come out to say that there's 2% of women on boards in Saudi and only 11% in the UAE. So when I love it when people come up to me and go, we're making so much progress. And actually the stats are not saying that at all. For me, I truly believe that change comes from the top down. And if we look at the biggest influencers still in business, it is men. So I really believe that it is about working together in allyship. It's about men advocating for women. And also, I believe that the only way we're going to create change is to get fair and equal representation at board level. So we are looking at a programme through WILD called Women on Boards, where we want to have positions that companies have or an opening for a NED, and we actually get women from the WILD community coached and ready and on those boards. Because, I always say that we can't blame outdated systems and the patriarchy for so long, because ultimately women need to take accountability and ownership for their own careers. So many women lack confidence. They're terrified to speak up, terrified of being visible and putting themselves out there. And look, I understand, it's subconscious programming. Women are taught to see themselves in a quiet space when we're growing up, whereas the boys are to be bold and leaders and forthright. So at a subconscious conditioning level, we are afraid to speak up, but people-pleasing and keeping our head down and hoping that we're going to get noticed just isn't going to cut it. So equal representation on board is going to lead to huge change, because we're going to leverage the diversity of the board. Women are obviously going to ensure that there is role models and, programs for women in the business. And also women really stepping up and knowing that we need to say yes and give ourselves permission to go for the opportunities in the first place.
And on that last point, I think women stepping up, I've seen in past positions where I've tried to push women in corporate environments to go for that promotion or push themselves, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why. I was like, well, that's an opportunity. No. And I think it is a mindset kind of, I think we almost have to kind of reset as women, or younger women now should start to reset and have no boundary and not look at certain roles as, oh, that's a male role, or, I think I've got a daughter, and I say to her, you do what you want and you go for it. And I don't want to see you ever, hold yourself back, obviously to a point, but hold yourself back and really go for it. And I mean, she changes her mind about what she wants to do every week. That's fine. But whatever she says she wants to do, I always push. I say, you go for it and work hard and do whatever you want. There is no boundary. So, yeah, I think in a young age, there is that little bit of, we don't realise, you're right, boys are very boisterous and outspoken, and us girls were, I don't know, now even still very much focused on different things. And I think we should really instill that confidence and being able to speak and not be worried about what people think.
I am hopeful for the Gen Z population because, they are radical reformists, quite difficult to work with. Completely different work ethic. Our social media manager is a Gen Z, and she's amazing. I mean, she is, but completely different to our generation of put up and shut up. If you don't like it, there's the door. When I look at my own career of corporate, I've been bullied, fired, harassed, left at the boys' club. And I guarantee any woman in leadership has been through the same. And I'm even hearing now, because obviously we coach women, I mentor women on a one-to-one level, men are feeling slightly threatened and intimidated in the workplace, and they are actually bullying women now more than ever. So it's almost having a counterproductive effect with the rise of gender equality, female leadership. And that's really sad to see. But Gen Zs, they don't take any rubbish from anybody. And when we look at Saudi, 65% of Saudi's population is Gen Z.
Wow.
And also with Saudi, we are seeing the highest amount of females graduate in STEM than anywhere else in the world. So I would be we might not see it in our lifetime, but I would like to see, or I'd be keen to see in the next 50 to 100 years, the scales could actually tip here. Wow. So I am hopeful for that generation and equality.
Amazing. And some of those statistics I had no idea about.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Coming back to Wild a little bit, can you share any success stories of Wild members who have risen to leadership positions or transitions?
Yeah, so we have lots of success stories. Two that are really worth mentioning is my absolute living, walking testimonial, Joanna, who came up to me after an event 2 years ago, anxious, nervous, red in the face, was like, I really need to speak to you. I really need your support. And I could see that she did. So we started working together, and I said to her on our very first session, what do you care about? What are your values? And she said, I really care about making a difference for my fellow Filipinas, because we are, her and her husband, entrepreneurs. They have several thriving businesses in the UAE, but she was always getting discriminated against for being the cleaner or the nanny. So I said to her, how do you feel about setting a women's network up for Filipino businesswomen? And she said, oh my God, I'll never be able to do that. And I said, look, don't compare my Wild Chapter 20 with your one. So I supported her to launch the Thriving Filipina Circle, 15 women. She had to present. I coached her to do it all. It's now the largest female community for Filipinas in the Middle East. She's got a community of several thousand. Wow. She's up winning awards. She's at the embassy. She's got a microphone in hand. And I'm like, wow, that is a product of having the right mentor who is able to support you and hold your hand through a journey. And I love her dearly. And she contacts me now and says, "You changed my life." And I say to her, "I didn't change your life, you changed your life." I get emotional because it's just such a beautiful story. "I merely gave you the support and tools to do so." So I think that's a real example of the power of mentorship. Another one that springs to mind, and it's just going back to the whole women speaking up and putting their hands up for what they want and the whole people-pleasing element. So one of my clients, Melanie, was having a review with her CEO. And she contacted me, we were in a coaching container afterwards, to say how disappointed she was that her CEO hadn't mentioned her career progression and what her next steps were in the business. So I said to her, "Didn't you mention it?" And she said, "No. I've been working so hard. I've kept my head down. I thought they were going to notice." And I said, "Well, that won't cut it. I mean, he's running a FTSE company. With all due respect, you and your career is not on his radar." So I worked with her closely to assemble a 12-slide deck to go and present to Flavio about why she should go for promotion, why she should be going to the next phase of her career with a pay rise, and what her plan was for the next 6 to 12 months. She contacted him and got a meeting in his diary, of which he was like, "Oh, okay." All of that shows leadership. You're taking the impetus, the onus to go and do something to show, "I'm a leader, this is what I want." Flavia was so blown away. She was promoted and she was flown to Italy to head up the region.
Wow.
Again, the power of mentorship and coaching. The power of speaking up and claiming what you want, knowing that we are worthy of taking up space, getting a time with your boss and telling them what you want. Why are we so afraid to do that?
I know.
So two success stories which really come to mind.
And both amazing stories and different stories.
Very.
Very different. Emma, what's your views on burnout and mental health issues that are arising at the moment?
So burnout is real and serious, and it's something that I've encountered myself. In 2022, I actually fell off a stage in tears with very serious burnout, and it took me 3 months to get myself back together. And I felt depressed. You feel withdrawn, depersonalized, you don't want to be around people, you have no creativity, inspiration, you completely lose your mojo. And what I've realized is there's a very, very fine line of being on this ledge where you're working, and once you fall off the ledge, it's very, very difficult to come back. So we see it so much with women in corporate. Female leaders are given so much additional responsibility, which doesn't contribute to their KPIs, way more than what men would be given. They're asked to be the female face of the organisation. They're a role model for other women. They might have to go on panel talks. They might have to lead a women's network. So, women I often see are on the ledge. Obviously, now we are seeing more and more awareness surrounding mental health. And as I mentioned earlier, back in, my corporate career in 2005 upwards, it was very much 12 to 15-hour days, very hierarchical, very autocratic. I think that is slightly changing, but burnout is real and serious, and I think that we all need to be so mindful of the ledge. And also, I think as leaders, we need to set a precedence that, it's not about hustling. Stress, burnout, and mental health is not success. To me, success is freedom, and that is mental freedom and having, those moments of joy. So we need as leaders to set an example. We need to lead by example, and we need to fill our own cup up first before we can start leading others.
No, amazing. And just going back a little bit on that, some people think that you need to work harder, and that's the only way, and that's how you'll become really successful.
Yeah.
Now, that is probably the complete opposite. You
Yep.
need to work smarter.
Yes.
Not just work yourself down to the ground.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to change our perspective on that as well. So, sleeping a few hours and getting up early and just working throughout the whole day and not taking breaks used to be seen as a thing to look up to. In some companies I've worked for personally, well, oh yes, we're. And now when I look back, I'm thinking, no, you're actually working yourself to the ground and will have health problems now and probably in the future as well. So, no, definitely. I think the fact that now things are starting to move slightly in terms of mental health anyway, where people are starting to realise that this is a big issue. I think years ago, mental health wasn't no one really spoke about it. But that was the biggest issue. And we used to wait for other health problems to occur, a heart attack or whatever, to say, oh God, I think that person might be stressed.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a big issue still, burnout and mental health. I think we're becoming slightly better at identifying that it's a problem, but I think there's still a way to go.
There is more awareness, and I love what you said so much, and it's something I advocate for. Hustle hard is a completely outdated, backward concept. Every time you open Instagram, there's someone with a mug, hustle hard, that boiler room environment of sell. And that is just such a masculine, pushing, controlling way to do business. And I think corporate women need to understand that we can embrace femininity, which is actually a very, very, very powerful position. It's not about pushing, controlling, forcing outcomes. It's exactly what you said. It's working smart. When I left corporate, had to do all of this undoing of all of this patterning of what I thought success looked like, the pushing and the striving. And if I'm not doing that, I'm not successful, and then I'm not worthy. And it is totally, totally wrong. I now, working for myself, spend so much time filling me up with the things that light me up more than what I do work, because I understand the importance of the femininity flow, and as I said before, attracting opportunities, not pushing and striving. We all hate it, don't we, if we open LinkedIn or we get a bajillion emails or someone keeps ringing. It puts me off completely.
Yeah.
And we're at a position now with Wild, and what I've managed to build up, particularly through LinkedIn, is doing one post which is about authenticity, which is about conscious leadership, and I can get 5 to 10 incoming leads from one post on LinkedIn. That's what you call attracting opportunities. I get interviewed once a week, I'm on the TV, I'm doing various, getting various awards, and I say that with humility, Soph, by the way, but I've attracted those opportunities to me because I'm feeling good, and that is what we call feminine flow. And I want more women through the work that you're doing to understand that. And if we could talk about financial freedom and literacy as well, I think that would be quite good to touch on.
Yeah, sure, I can talk about financial literacy, but what is it in particular that you think women need in terms of financial literacy from your experience?
Yeah, so financial literacy is a key component of gender equality, because when we look at some regions, women have no control over their finances. They have no idea what they can do with the money that they've got whatsoever. There's a fear around spending and working with the right investor or, wealth building. So I think spreading knowledge and awareness around financial literacy is so, so, so vital. Great examples, I've worked with a finance coach. I'm absolutely hopeless with numbers. I can't even use Excel, which would be appalled to know. Thankfully, I'm good at other things. But, I just would bury my head in the sand. I've got a UK account, a Dubai account. I wouldn't know what's coming in, what's coming out. I was winging it. I had no visibility at all. And then working with the right people, I've been able to gain the visibility on what I'm doing, what cash flow's coming in, and also supporting women with what is an abundance mindset. What does that look like? Yeah. Knowing what lack is, knowing what scarcity is, knowing what real abundance is. And that's cultivating a knowing and an understanding that when we do the work, we can create abundance in our life. So I know through the work that you do, and hopefully we're going to go on to do some things together, which I'm so excited about. I would love to know how you can help with that side of things. I'm interviewing you now.
I think the point you've made is it's an education piece. It's actually educating women on finances, personal finances. And the first point, you're right, is organising your finances, first of all. Understanding what you're spending on. Understanding if you've got different different income coming in from different sources, for example, that could be quite difficult to track. So essentially what you've done and doing is organising these things. But then the next step to that is, and I often get asked from women, is where do I start? How much can I start with? These sort of questions are something that I get asked daily.
Yeah.
What's the minimum that I can put away into a financial plan for myself, into a pension for myself? I'm worried.
What is the minimum?
So in Dubai here, you can start with as little as 1,000 dirham a month if you would like to. And that's the mindset, because people start thinking, wealth, financial, I need to have a lot of money before I go and see somebody for some help. And also a lot of people get intimidated by speaking to a financial professional because they feel like they need to have some knowledge and they feel like they need to have a lot of wealth. And for me, it's the complete opposite. I prefer you to have no knowledge, because I will help you and I'll educate you as I go along, and I will help you build. So if you don't have much, well, that's fine. We will help to get you to a point where you will start to build and have wealth. So I love working with women. I'm really passionate about it. Not just women, but I enjoy working with women because I think women take in a lot of what I say, and it becomes a bit of an educational piece as well as helping them with their financial future.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And, I'm an advocate for your work as well. It's really, really, really important. And it's also about trusting, isn't it? Because there's a lot of financial scams out there. And I think when you work with someone that you trust and that you can have candid, honest, open conversations with, I think that's something that you do brilliantly.
Thank you, Emma. Really appreciate that. So let's move on. So, Emma, you've often talked about unleashing the wild woman within each of us. Do you believe that every woman has the wild side waiting to be released?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes back to what we spoke about with that inner confidence and learning to really trust yourself and who you are, and I've been on this personal growth journey since that breakdown. So that's 6 years now. And I've had so many revelations and breakthroughs and up levels. And I really want to pass that down to other women and to understand when we trust ourselves, when we work on ourselves, when we invest in ourselves, when we believe in ourselves, we can unleash someone really, really unstoppable. When I think of my first ever keynote with Wild and being so vulnerable and so scared and nervous, and now, I was at Arabian Business last week, conference, leadership summit, 600 people. I can just jump up on stage with a microphone and not even get nervous. I don't even have to prepare. I am an extrovert and I am confident, but I do believe that with the right support, we can unleash that piece of us. I've just been asked to write a foreword for a book about women's voices. And there is a piece that I have said about unleashing the wild woman, and that, you know, women can become the most amazing, wonderful leaders. And she is us, and she is all of us, which I think is a really nice thing to understand. So I do believe that within us is a wild woman waiting to be unleashed.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Really nice. And following on from that then, so what advice would you give young women who aspire to be leaders in their fields, in particularly male-dominated industries?
It can be really, really quite tough in corporate environments. I think we need the right support. If you don't invest in a coach, then seek mentorship from a role model within the business. And actually, men can be good mentors for women in the workplace as well. There are wonderful men out there that advocate for women. So don't take no for an answer. Always, always be you and true to who you are. And, you know, when I look at my corporate career, I was always controversial. I always spoke up. But I'm so proud that I did, because when you speak up, you stand up for who you are and what you believe in. And yes, it didn't do me any favours, but now I've been able to use my voice as a channel and conduit for reform and a voice for change and for good. So, you know, having voice, speaking up, being tenacious, not taking no for an answer, and really knowing that anything is possible when we work on ourselves and we remove this limitation and doubt. That's so important to know. And I want my journey to inspire others, because look, you know, a breakdown, launching Wild with $300 to where it is now and being at the UN in Saudi, it just shows you what is possible.
Yeah, amazing. An amazing journey, amazing story, amazing woman. So I know Wild have got fantastic initiatives, events. What's coming up, Emma, for Wild?
We are working on some projects behind the scenes. Something that we have just launched is the Wild Monetization Method. So I am working with women on a one-to-one basis. We're going to also launch a digital course where there is a 6-step formula of how you can either ditch the 9-to-5 and build your dream business, or how to really monetize the business that you have currently. We see a lot of women leading community and having, you know, passion projects. It's about monetizing them. And I truly believe that if we are of service to others, we deserve to be compensated. So the 6-step Wild Monetization Method. We are also looking at programs for the women on boards, which I think is going to be an absolute game changer for gender equality in the region. And we are looking at rebranding and becoming a boutique agency offering female talent solutions, which will include executive search. So that's exciting. You know, lots of pivots, lots of letting go of old things that I personally don't feel passionate about anymore, moving more into the B2B space with attracting and retaining female talent and what those strategies look like, and the Wild Monetization Method.
So plenty of exciting things coming up.
We keep going.
Well done, and all the best with those.
Thank you.
And all I can say is thank you so much, Emma, for being with me today.
Always, thank you so much.
And I know
as well.
that the audience would have got a lot of value from today's talk. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.